All right, grab a chair or ottoman, a poof, or is it puff? Doesn't matter. Something stable you can dip with. All right, 1 dip, 2, 3, 4. Nice. 5. Starting to feel it? Because I am. And I'm just an animation. Burning. Go ahead. We earned it.
Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the third webinar in the Check It Community Conversation, Move More. My name is Chelsea Lavelle. I'm the host of Daytime Buffalo on Channel 4 in Buffalo, New York. I'm originally from New York City and have been involved with the American Heart Association for a few years now, both because we've had them on my show to talk about, especially during, Heart Health Month, and talking about their luncheons and seminars that they host, as well as through my affiliation with the Miss America Opportunities. American Heart Association and Miss America have partnered together to continue to spread awareness about living a healthier lifestyle, a very positive cardiovascular lifestyle, and just spreading awareness through the title holder. So I'm the current Miss Buffalo and excited to be talking about this. I personally am on the younger side, but I've struggled a little bit with managing my blood pressure, and it's been something that I've needed to keep an eye on, both because of my family history and things that my doctors have noted. So I'm really excited to be having this conversation and some fun and make it positive. And I'll be moderating today's conversations as a part of the Check It Challenge. Now, if you don't know, the annual Check It Challenge is a free evidence-based wellness and blood pressure management program that focuses on improving your health by making simple changes to prevent and manage high blood pressure. Now, throughout the challenge, we've been talking about understanding your numbers and making small changes that make big improvements. If you missed any of the American Heart Association's resources, or if you need to go back to check something out, you can head over to the website, which is www.heart.org/checkitny. Alrighty, now we can't have this Check It Challenge without our generous sponsors. So we would like to send special thank you to our local sponsors that you see right there on your screen, starting off with Broadview Federal Credit Union, Central Hudson Energy Group, Baxter, the Kinney Drugs Foundation, and media sponsor Central New York Latino. Thank you so much to our sponsors. And I'd like to know who's joining us today. In the chat box, let us know your name and where you are joining from and what organization that you are with. And in that chat box, make sure you're selecting everyone, or else we won't be able to see it, okay? And we're going to be using that chat box throughout this session to get questions. So you can, while our panelists are speaking, you can, feel free to put your questions in the chat box, and we'll just hold on to those questions and get to them during the end of the question and answer. And as a reminder, this is a public event, so please avoid disclosing any personal medical information when using that chat feature for everyone. Already, I already see people commenting. Hi, Kathy from Albany. Thank you for being with us. And just to let you know that we are recording this session today, and it will be available on the Check It Challenge website and the American Heart Association's Eastern States YouTube channel approximately 2 days after the webinar closes. So your one-time registration will give you access to all recordings, future events, and resources on the event website. Now, again, that website is www.heart.org/checkitny. And don't forget, if you're using social media throughout the conversation, make sure you use our handles on the screen. That's at AHA New York, and use the hashtag #CheckIt. Alrighty, I think we're ready to get this moving. Very exciting. We're starting off with our first guest today, Terlesia Shipe. Now, Terlesia has lived in Syracuse her entire life. She's a proud mother of 3 and a wife, with family being at the core of everything that she does. Currently, she works as a public health educator on the Onondaga County Health Department, where she is dedicated to enhancing the health and well-being of the community. Now, in addition to her current role, Terlesia has spent several years at the YMCA teaching group exercise classes and providing personal training services. With a strong background in health and wellness, she's passionate about helping others achieve their health goals and improving their quality of life. Whether in a group setting or working individually, she strives to support others in their pursuit of a healthier lifestyle. So, Terlesia, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course. Okay. So we know that your life revolves around movement. That's what we
Yeah.
just heard in your opening. So tell us what physical wellness means to you.
Okay. So physical wellness to me is about feeling alive in your body. It's that boost of confidence after a gym session, the joy of dancing around your kitchen like nobody's watching, or having the energy to keep up with your kids or your dog. It's not about chasing some perfect body. It's about building a life where you feel strong, um, capable and energized. Whether it's lifting weights, lacing up your sneakers for a walk or a run, or just moving in a way that makes you smile. Wellness is a celebration of what your body can do.
I love that. I love that. It's about pushing yourself, and there is a mind and body connection through physical movement, right?
Yes, there is. Absolutely. They go
Let's talk
hand in
about
hand.
Yeah, let's talk about that connection between movement and wellness, right? So
Mhm.
movement is something that we do or we should be doing every day, but when it connects to our wellness is when we are striving for a healthier lifestyle, right?
Yes, absolutely. So, movement and wellness go hand in hand. Our bodies are meant to move, whether, like I said, it's a walk in the park or a workout at the gym or even your home, a yoga session, or playing with your kids or running after your dog. Regular movement helps boost your mood, reduce stress, improve sleep, and give you more energy throughout the day. But it's more than just the physical part of fitness. It's about feeling present, connected, and truly at home in your body.
Yeah. I know personally, I started committing to working out. I mean, I think health and wellness has always been a part of my life. I grew up dancing and I grew up
Mhm.
playing sports. As an adult, when it's not kind of put into your regular activities, you have to find the onus to want to move and figure out what works for you, right? So
Right.
I had gym memberships, and those didn't always grow well for me because I would get to the gym and I would, walk on the treadmill for 30 minutes and maybe do 5 minutes of abs and say, okay, at least I got here, which is
Hmm.
great because at least I
Absolutely.
was moving. But
Hmm.
I knew for my age, for the lifestyle I wanted to live, for the body I was pursuing, that I needed to do more. And I had to find something that works for me. So, as someone who's in the physical fitness world, how do you guide your clients with what sort of movement or exercise or lifestyle will fit best for them?
Okay. So I always come back to how movement makes you feel.
Mm.
Um, for me, strong and balanced. That feeling is what keeps me going. So I also like to keep things fun by setting small goals, and also making sure they're doable. Um, and also switching up. with new workouts or activities. When it comes to encouraging others, I always say find what you enjoy, like you mentioned, like, for yourself as well. Whether that's, lifting weights, going to the gym, or a stroll in the park, or, walking with a friend, or dancing in your living room, right? It doesn't always have to be like out, and, you can do it in the comfort of your own home. Um, and movement should feel rewarding, not like a chore, right? And if you miss a day, it's okay. Just get back to it when you can. Um, Progress is built on showing up, not being perfect.
I love that. You mentioned something that you work on with your clients is working on small, achievable goals. Is
Hmm.
that how you have people continue to stay motivated in their fitness journeys? And can you give us an example of what some of those goals might look like?
Yes, absolutely. So I think the biggest one, I think sometimes we like to focus on change overnight, right? So that doesn't happen. Change does not happen necessarily overnight. So I help them focus on making small goals. For example, like instead of saying I'm going to work out for 30 minutes Monday through Friday, let's start with 1 or 2 days a week and then build on that week after week.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great way. Is there any one piece of advice that you would offer someone who may be just starting out? You know, it's getting to be warmer. We're just talking about
Hmm.
you're in Syracuse, I'm in Buffalo, two places that are cold, and we're finally getting sunshine. This is around the time when people say, okay, it's enough. I've been inside all winter and I want to get moving, but I'm just intimidated on where to start or how.
Right. Yeah. So my advice would be, like I said, start small and be kind to yourself. You don't have to change everything overnight. Even 10 minutes of movement a day is a great start. And then focus on building habits, not hitting, unrealistic goal. And then also celebrate the little wins, because the moments of consistency are what create lasting change.
Oh, I love that. Celebrating the little wins. If
Yes,
start working out and you started working out, lifting 10-pound weights and you make your way up to 20 and you're able to do a good 5 reps with those, that's a big moment for you.
huge.
And
Absolutely.
something else that I think I would recommend is finding a workout partner. Would you
Hmm.
say that too? I mean, personally, I found group fitness classes were the best thing for me and my journey because it helped me accountable. If there are mornings where I don't want to get out of bed, I would be like, okay, but my friend Gabby's going to be at the gym today and I want to see her. And that's, if I wasn't going necessarily because I wanted to work out, I was going because there was someone there that I wanted to see. And I think that can be helpful for others too.
Oh, absolutely. I am a huge advocate of group fitness. I actually do it myself. I don't always have the what do you call it? The
Willpower.
willpower, right, to work out on my own. So sometimes like,
Yeah.
finding a class that you enjoy and then a buddy as well who also enjoys it, and then you guys can do it together.
Yeah.
Definitely helps.
And also, you shouldn't be intimidated by group classes because 90% of group workouts, you're going at your own pace, right?
Absolutely, yes. And I encourage everyone, especially when you're just starting out, go at your own pace. Just because everyone in the class is, doing, heavy, using like the heavier weights, that's not where you're at right now, and that's okay. Start
Mhm.
with those 5 pound weights, and then maybe in a week or two, increase the weight.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then celebrate. There you
And
go.
celebrate, absolutely celebrate. And modifications are okay.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What are some common misconceptions that people might have about fitness or wellness?
Okay, so one big misconception is that you have to go all out every day for it to really matter and count. Um, and for me personally, that's not true. Movement can be gentle, simple, and still incredibly effective. Another common myth is that fitness is only for people who already look a certain way, but it's really for everyone at every stage of life. And it's not just about the physical appearance either. Regular movement supports your heart, health, your joints, your mental clarity. It's one of the best things you can do for your overall health and long-term well-being.
I absolutely can say that from experience. I started committing to going to an earlier workout before I go to my job. And the days when I don't wake up and go to the gym and sleep in and go to work, I feel my energy is off. I feel like I just don't have as much energy to get throughout the day, which is what you
Hmm.
would think, in my mind, I'm like, oh, you need to sleep in, you'll get some more rest. But actually taking the time to wake up and start my day with the workout has been, I've seen a big impact on my life. And I'm sure you can see that with your clients.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I always say too, like you have to listen to your body. So if you're feeling tired or overworked or anything, and you don't feel like necessarily getting up to go to that 5 a.m. class, that's okay. Maybe try it later in the afternoon or evening. But definitely listen to your body.
How do you measure success in your fitness journey with your clients?
So success isn't just about what you see in the mirror. Like I mentioned before, like that physical part. It's about what you feel. For example, are you sleeping better? Are you feeling more confident? Are you moving with less pain? Your mood is boosted. Are you smiling more? Those are the real ones, right? For me and my clients, it's about creating a lifestyle that feels good, supports your goals, and help you live fully, not chasing, some unrealistic ideal. Progress over perfection always.
I love that. And truly I want the biggest takeaway for people to say that know that movement matters and
Hmm.
wherever you start is good enough, and know that where you're starting is not where you're ending, but you don't need to
Absolutely.
push yourself more. If you're not a morning person, don't try to make yourself wake up at 5 a.m. to go work out. It's not going to
Hmm.
end up well for you, and then you'll be disappointed. That's okay. You
Right.
don't need to do that. You can take a 5:30 or a 6 o'clock class. There are
Hmm.
gyms that stay open 24 hours. If you're a late night person that would do better, do that.
Right.
And I love what you talked about is creating attainable goals for yourself and really taking the time to celebrate those little wins when it comes to your health.
Absolutely.
Well, Tara Alicia, I want to thank you so much for being here and inspiring us to get active. If you have questions for Tara Alicia, you can put them in the chat box for a question and answer that's going to come at the end. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to keep
Absolutely.
you
My
around
pleasure.
just for any questions at the end, okay?
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to be joined by Christine Pilarosa. Okay, Christine is the general manager for Pure Bar and Stretch Lab. She's got over 25 years of experience in the fitness industry, and it's been her life mission to help people live healthier lives through fitness and wellness. Before joining Pure Bar and Stretch Lab, she owned a group fitness and personal training business called Bounce Aerobics in Marketplace Mall. She was also a senior master trainer for Beachbody, where she trained over 5,000 instructors to teach the company's group fitness formats. She had the honor of appearing in fitness videos with Sean T, Shalene Johnson, Autumn Calabrese, and Tony Horton. Now, despite being in great physical health, she suffered a major stroke in 2016 at the age of 33. Now, this led her to having heart surgery to close a hole in her heart shortly after. Now, the experience taught her how important it is to be knowledgeable about the signs and symptoms of strokes in women and how it can happen to anyone, no matter how healthy you appear to be. So, welcome, Christine. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Of course, of course. Okay, so you have an incredible story. We mentioned that you are a stroke survivor. So could you share more about that story with us?
Yes, I would love to. So, as you said in my bio, I was only 33 years old when I had my stroke. I'll have actually my stroke anniversary next month. So, living that up for sure, right? And what I love to talk about is the signs and symptoms that I had personally, because as someone that was super fit, I didn't have any of the precursors that you would think someone that would have a stroke would have, right? I was not overweight. I did not smoke. Didn't have diabetes. I worked out all the time. I was at the peak of my fitness career, but yet at a younger age, still had that experience happen to me. And the crazy thing about it was that I, as a fitness professional, I knew all of the signs. I was very aware of what to look for in my classes, right? To look at my people, see, do they have those symptoms? But when it was happening to me personally, I had no idea that that was going to happen. So how it happened for me is that I was actually teaching a group fitness class when I had my stroke. So I had a full class of people in front of me. And the first thing that happened is I started feeling vertigo. And I thought that maybe I just was having an inner ear infection. So I kept going and was like, you're going to be fine. Just keep going, kept teaching the class. And then at the end of the class, I was talking to them as they were finishing up, and I was saying things that were very interesting, that things I would never usually say. So my kids were only 4 and 6 at the time, and I was talking about how my kids were having big exams coming up at school. But yeah, there were no exams in preschool and first grade at that time. And in my head, I was like, why am I saying this? This is very interesting. But again, chalked it up as who the heck knows? I'm going to keep going. Nothing bad could be happening to me. And when I finished the class, I got up and I started walking to the front desk, and I was leaning to the right. And I kept leaning and I was holding onto the wall, and I was walking the entire way up to the front desk, just completely sideways. And again, thought that was interesting, but didn't think much of it. Everyone left me. No one thought anything else of it too. All my members left. I laid down on the ground at my front desk and just stared out into the mall, thinking that it was a Saturday morning when it was actually a Thursday evening.
Wow.
So I just looked out in the mall thinking, Christine, you've got to get your stuff together here. You've got people coming in for another class. And I laid there for about an hour, just staring out until my husband at the time called me, because we had cameras, and he said, what are you doing on the ground? And I said, I have absolutely no idea why I am on the ground right now. So thankfully, he took me to the hospital and then gave me an MRI. And I really thought it was just going to be maybe a mini stroke. So when they came back and said that I had a major stroke, we were all very surprised, to say the least.
Wow. Do your doctors have any idea of how this could happen with someone so young and so healthy?
Yeah. So, they kept me in the hospital for 7 days to do as many tests as they could possibly do to try to figure out how this could have happened to me. And what they realized after doing endless ultrasounds, MRIs with and without contrast, everything that you could possibly imagine to try to figure this out, they realized that I had a PFO, a hole in my heart. And so I had developed a blood clot that went up through the hole in my heart up to my brain. And the reason that they think I had the blood clot form was because I was on birth control at the time, and I get aura migraines. And I had no idea at the time that aura migraines, which are different, of course, than your traditional migraines, they're more visual and optical, had no idea that that can thicken your blood when you are on birth control. And so that is what they think happened. That's why I had the procedure to have the hole in my heart closed 2 months after the stroke.
Okay. What was your family and friends and the professionals around you? What was their immediate reaction after you had the stroke?
Everyone, of course, was extremely shocked because I was not at all a typical stroke victim. And even in the hospital, all of the nurses and the doctors, they did so many tests on just how I talked, how I walked after, and they couldn't believe that I was walking and talking after having such a major bleed in my brain.
Wow.
So that was a big deal. The fact that they were like, wow, I can't believe that you're doing okay after what just happened to you.
So do they think that because of how physically fit you were before the stroke, it was able to actually help your recovery speed up?
100%. Every single doctor said that that is definitely one of the biggest factors that helped me recover so quickly right after having the stroke, and then throughout the weeks and months that followed.
Now, obviously, this is something major that happened to your body. It's hard to wrap your brain around it. How did you cope with the emotional challenges of having a stroke? And, frustration, anxiety, depression, these are things that happen to anyone with any injury, but especially something as significant as a stroke.
Yeah, I had a few different feelings that happened. First thing, actually, that's interesting is I felt guilt after I had my stroke. And the reason was because actually, physically, I was okay.
Mhm.
I was able to use both sides of my body. I was able to go back to working out 6 weeks after I had the stroke. I started teaching group fitness classes. I actually went to California exactly 6 weeks after and filmed a video for Beachbody. So I went right back into it. So I felt a lot of guilt for the people who didn't have that kind of recovery. And I was like, gosh, that I got lucky in that way and they weren't as lucky as me. But then from there, I realized that there's, like you said, the entire other aspect of dealing with something like this, which is the emotional and the brain chemistry that changes when you have a bleed in your brain. And because of where the bleed in my brain was, my personality did change. So,
Really?
and yeah, and that's what my family noticed the most is
Yeah.
they said, wow, you're a little spicier than you used to be. Yes, it's a little things like that that I had to get used to, and I had to tell myself it's okay that you don't react to the same things the same way anymore. And
Mhm.
even to this day, I have realized that some of the things that I used to, how I would handle certain situations, my brain doesn't technically want to handle it in the same way as I used to. So that has been a big challenge.
Was it hard learning of your personality change through your family versus you recognizing it in yourself?
For sure. Yes. I cried a lot,
Mhm.
right? Because I was like, wow, I liked who I was before. And now I'm, not as calm. And I actually felt like I wasn't as optimistic as I was before at first. I've gotten that back throughout the years, but dealing, like you said, with a little bit of depression. And I had never felt depression before in my life. I was always a on the clouds, optimistic person and started having these feelings I hadn't felt before. So it was a challenge that I had to really work through every single day. A lot of self talk and fitness actually was my saving grace because being, like you talked about before with Terlicia, being in a group fitness class with other people, oh my gosh, that is the biggest brain hug that
Yeah.
you can ever imagine, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but it makes sense. You went through something very, very real. So of course it's gonna change your approach to life for a little bit. You're a mom, you're a wife. That was something that could have changed for your family very quickly if things had to taken a different turn. Can you talk about what it was like reintegrating yourself back into your wellness and fitness journey?
Yeah. So at first, after I had the stroke, like I told you, I had to wait 6 weeks before I was allowed to work out at all. And when I finally did go back to working out, I was scared.
Yeah.
I was nervous. Am I gonna, first of all, am I gonna pass out? Am I gonna have another stroke? Am I going to have the endurance to get through these classes? So I had a lot of anxiety going into teaching again. And then after I had my heart surgery, then it was an even bigger hurdle to go over because then I had this right in my femoral artery. I had to make sure not to have those stitches burst when I started working out again. I was super scared of having a bleed during class. And again, my endurance was so different that I had to rebuild myself up. And it was hard to give myself grace. And that is really what I had to work hard on is saying, Christine, you just survived something pretty crazy. So it is okay if it takes you a little bit longer. And my members were amazing and they gave me that grace, which really helped.
Yeah. What's one piece of advice or things that you say to people to look out for when you're sharing your personal story?
Such a good question. The main thing I always tell people is even if you know the signs, you have to make sure you know when to recognize them in yourself. Because as either you're a fitness professional or you're a mom or you're, a wife, whatever it may be, it's so easy for us to always look for other people to have the signs, but will we notice it in ourselves? And that is the biggest thing I always try to educate people on.
I love that you mentioned that. We do have a lot of women on this call, and we always talk about women in general. We just put others before ourselves. We're the first person to see if something's wrong with someone else or wanting to help others. But when it comes to ourselves, sometimes we put ourselves on the back burner. So
Yes.
one, educating on your signs, but what you said is really important, educating yourself on what is normal for you and what is not normal. And it can change the trajectory of your life if something like this happens to you.
For sure.
All righty. Well, thank you so much, Christine, for sitting down and talking to us and being so open about your story. I imagine it's sometimes a little hard to relive. So we really appreciate your honesty and your openness. And we're all looking forward to setting some better health goals after that conversation. And anyone on the call right now, again, if you have any questions for Christine, please put them in the chat box for everyone. We're going to hold on to her. And after we get through our next speaker, we will be doing a question and answer with all of our panelists. Okay. So thank you so much again, Christine. And now we are going to be joined by Dr. Nellie Kazaz. It's a pleasure to introduce Dr. Kazaz. She's a cardiologist whose dedication to heart health has profoundly impacted Central New York over the past 2 decades. Serving at Cruz Hospital and St. Joseph's Hospital, Dr. Kazaz has built her career on a foundation of preventative cardiology, championing strategies that empower patients to take control of their cardiovascular health long before intervention is needed. Beyond her clinical excellence, she's recently expanded her expertise by completing an MBA, a testament to her commitment to understanding the intricate business dynamics of healthcare. Driven by a vision to bridge clinical care and systemic innovation, Dr. Kazaz now seeks to leverage her dual mastery of medicine and management to reshape the healthcare delivery, ensuring it becomes more equitable, sustainable, and patient-centered care. Dr. Kazaz is also a board member in Syracuse with the American Heart Association. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Of
Looking forward
course.
to that.
Now, we brought you on because you are the healthcare provider. We've heard stories about physical health. We've heard from a survivor, and now we're talking to you as a cardiologist. So can you share the connection between physical activity and heart health?
Yes, as a cardiologist, one of the most impactful conversation I have with my patients is usually about everyday habits, particularly physical activity, and how profoundly it can affect our heart health. Whether you're preventing heart disease or managing an existing condition, it plays an indispensable role in promoting our well-being. And I would love to have a second to thank you and Christine for sharing your personal health struggle. It emphasized the point that heart disease look like all of us. You are both young, beautiful women, and we have a vision of heart disease looking like a certain way, certain age, certain weight, and it is a proof that it looks like all of us. Actually, the statistics are staggering. 45% of women above the age of 20 are struggling with one kind of cardiovascular disease.
Wow. Wow. I'm so glad that we're talking about it because it is true. Cardiovascular disease does not discriminate, but there are things we can do our best to prevent it from happening, right? So what are key benefits of exercise when it comes to preventing heart disease?
So exercise actually improves the ability of the heart to pump more efficiently. It reduces the strain on the heart. It lowers our blood pressure. It improves our cholesterol level. It reduces our blood sugar. It actually affects every aspect of the risk factors that increase our risk of heart disease. It obviously help with our weight, which can contribute to the lower activity level. It improves inflammation, which has a tremendous effect on the endothelial function, which is the lining of the arteries that increase our risk of acute stroke or heart attacks. It plays a very crucial part of preventing heart disease through multiple mechanisms.
Physical health and fitness can also play a role when it comes to management of existing cardiovascular conditions, right?
Yes. After and I was looking forward to hear from Christine about that. Most people that go through some type of heart attack, stroke, heart surgery, we try to enroll them in something we call cardiac rehab. It has a lot of benefits, most importantly to avoid that fear and anxiety after such an event of how much I can do, how much I can push myself. So we have great programs that are covered by insurance, and they go up to 12 weeks. That can be, you need to talk to your doctors about them. But it actually, exercise after, it's a very essential part of the management of heart disease or cardiovascular disease. It helps reduce symptoms. It improves the shortness of breath. It enhances the quality of life. It reduces the anxiety revolving around having heart disease. It promotes something we call it collateral formation. It forms new vessels where people had a heart attack or a stroke. So that's why they improve faster and better, like Christine mentioned, after her stroke, because she had that capability of forming new blood supply to the areas that were affected by the acute event.
Wow, okay.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people feel like they need to do intense exercise and activities to improve their heart health. Is that true? Or can moderate activity have significant benefits as well?
Unfortunately, it is a misconception. We try to say something is always better than nothing.
Yeah.
And actually, there were major studies, including the Copenhagen City Heart Study and the PURE study, that confirmed that moderate activity, which is defined by 150 minutes a week, however you want to do it. It could be 10 minutes at a time of moderate activity. It could be walking, gardening, it could be dancing, and it's very important to reach that point with your patients, is to explain it could be something that you enjoy. It doesn't have to be major exercise in a fitness program. Obviously, accountability help if you have a group of people to do it with, but it doesn't have to be extreme activity. 150 minutes a week, however you want to split it, 5 minutes, 10 minutes at a time of brisk walking, biking, swimming, gardening, and it all has a scientific proof of prolonging and improving life.
Oh, okay. So you heard it here from the doctor herself. You find what makes you happy to move and you do it. And it doesn't matter. 150 minutes a week. When you think about breaking it down by 5 or 10 or 20 minutes a day, it doesn't seem like that much. It really seems attainable. Now, Dr. Kazaz, do you have any specific lifestyle strategies such as, nutrition, sleep, and recovery to help augment or enhance the benefit of each exercise routines?
So sleep is very crucial, and it was actually added by the American Heart Association to the essential eight things that we have to follow to achieve cardiac health. So developing good sleeping habit, particularly in this era with a lot of a lot of stimulation constantly, is very
Late night
critical.
scrolling.
Very critical. So 1 to 2 hours before time of sleep, we should avoid the the screen time, and trying to achieve 7 to 9 hours. Make sure that we don't have sleeping disorder like sleep apnea is very critical, because it increases the blood pressure, increase the blood sugar, the stress hormones, and reduce our ability to have enough energy to exercise during the day. Diet is very critical for for heart health, and it goes hand in hand with the physical activity to achieve well-being and heart health. Our major recommendation is the Mediterranean diet. It has the best data regarding prevention of heart disease, prolonging life. It has anti-inflammatory benefits. It concentrates on lower processed food, more green leafy vegetables, more white fish and salmon, tree nuts like almonds, pistachios, and olive oil. Avocados are proven to lower your bad cholesterol if they're done regularly, and they're defined as 1 avocado a week. And it has benefits also on our joint health, which is very critical to being able to do the physical activity that will lead to cardiac health. And of course, eating healthy and exercising has an amazing effect on our mental health, which lead to also better sleep. And it's a cycle that once you achieve one of them, you'll be able to create that harmony in achieving
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, they're all connected. Do you have any strategies that you use to motivate your patients who may feel overwhelmed by the idea of getting active because of, their existing health issues?
Yes, most importantly is to start small, celebrate this small achievement. I found it best to meet people where they're at. For most of my patients, if I say it's about being able to take a walk with your grandchild, that might be the goal. We're not trying to achieve perfection as your previous guests had achieved. We're trying to achieve the health benefit, the personal goal, and again, normalize setbacks, because consistency and sustainability is the most important thing. And you know, um, unfortunately, fear is also a great motivation factor. So when people come to me right after a heart attack or a stroke, it's a great time, and maybe being vulnerable at the time to encourage them to achieve goals, and again, health goals. It's not about the size of our waist, or what we're going to fit in this summer. It's more about living longer, healthier life.
Yes, yes, I love that. Use your fear as a motivation for you to live a healthier life and overcome that fear then, right? Now, given the established role of exercise, nutrition, and lifestyle in cardiovascular health, how does new weight loss medications integrate into a holistic strategy for heart disease prevention and management? That's a big talk about people using weight loss drugs, and how can that affect you?
It's a great question. So these new medications that are getting so much popularity in the media right now, they're transformative. I think they're gonna definitely change the way we practice medicine. The most important thing is it is not a fix-it-all. It is not a magic pill. It has to come with lifestyle changes. And I think they're a great way for some patients to start that journey. Because as we know, having extra weight make it harder to exercise. I tell my patients all the time, going up the stairs while carrying my grocery is different than going up the stairs when I put my grocery down. So when you lose the weight, your ability to exercise will improve. But these medications can actually have a great benefit in lifestyle change if patients are using them appropriately, because they do affect your appetite. They do help you lose weight magically, which can create that push to increase your activity and continue the journey. They have amazing cardiovascular protective benefits in people with known heart disease. They reduce the risk of heart failure. So they have amazing cardiovascular benefits that I encourage the appropriate patients to talk to their physicians about, but it is not a magic pill that will fix it all. It has to come with the lifestyle changes, and with the lifestyle changes, reducing the intake of processed food, increasing your activity. And if you can use them as a motivator to give you that first push, they're actually transformative. And I highly recommend them as a cardiovascular specialist.
Okay, I love hearing this information from an expert, and it really is an important takeaway because I know that these drugs are really popular now. And if you're using it because you want to kick off your weight loss journey, that's great, but it can't be the only thing, right? It has to be you deciding to change that lifestyle, right? So you can't get on this drug and say, okay, I'm just going to eat less Burger King. Right? We're supposed to be
No,
incorporating those healthy diets and nutrition that you just mentioned. And you can't
it
get
is.
get this on this drug and not think that you don't need to work out anymore at all still.
Correct.
It's not a, like you said, magic potion. It doesn't fix it all, right?
Correct. Yes. It's a one block in that process or 1 mile in that journey. Yes.
Right. Well, thank you so much for talking with us, Dr. Kazaz. You've given us a lot of great insight from a medical background. I'd actually like to invite our audience to put any questions in the chat box and be sure to post it to everyone so we can all see it. And Terlicia, Christine, you can join us back on the screen for the Q&A portion if you have any, if anyone wants to talk to you. So I do have a question already. Is cardio or weightlifting more important for heart health? And anyone can jump in.
I will be more than happy to say that. I would say they both important. We do recommend 150 minutes of cardio or 70 minutes, a moderate exercise and cardio, or 70 minutes of very aggressive cardio a week. And we do recommend by the American Heart Association 2 days of strengthening, because we have to remember that safety of exercise to prevent injury is just as critical, because I can't exercise regularly if every time I try to exercise, I injure myself. So strengthening is very important as part of the exercise program, and not just for the cardio health. But increasing your heart rate is very critical to improve the cardiac health. And I'll give it to the exercise experts to add.
Actually, yes, I will add to that as well. For the other reason that we should strength train is because of bone density, especially as we get older. If we look at women specifically, how important strength training is for women to make sure that we improve our bone density as we get older. So just as important as keeping your heart healthy, our bones have to be healthy as well.
I have a question from Kathy here. Oh, sorry, Terlisa, do you wanna answer too?
Okay,
Or
yes, I agree with both what you both said. It's actually a couple of friends of mine, they have had their yearly exams, and actually their doctors told them they need to start doing strength training because of, like you said, Christine, that bone density.
That's right.
But yeah, definitely agree with what you both said.
Well, I have a question for Dr. Kazaz. The question is it better to push through pain in the hopes that movement will improve joint pain?
Yes, first of all, if you have joint pain, you've got to talk to your doctor to make sure what is the reason for it. But that is my thing. If I exercise so hard today that for a week I'm bedridden and I can't move, then it defeats the purpose. I would rather people do smaller movement. As I said, repetitively and consistently, it is much better. And I would say, do not push through your pain. Do not self-diagnose. Make sure you talk to your doctor.
I also think you have to recognize what the pain is, right? Is it pain because you're lifting weights and your muscles are fatigued? Those are normal pains. But if you're feeling sharp pains, if something really doesn't feel right, those are the pains that you don't want to push to. Would you all agree with
I
that?
agree.
Yeah. Okay, so if you have exercise restrictions, what are good ways to still get movement in your day?
I can actually bump in here with that one. So yeah, so exercise restrictions, of course, it matters what they are. But the main thing to note is that there's high intensity, low intensity, and there's also high impact and low impact exercises. And the main thing we always want to look for is that if we have certain restrictions, maybe looking at more low impact exercises instead of high impact. So if you've got bad knees, you shouldn't be running on a treadmill, right? Instead, maybe jump on the bike, even maybe the recumbent bike might even be a better place for certain people. Other restrictions, like if you're pregnant, there are certain exercises that you may not want to do dependent on where your pregnancy journey is at. And I'm sure that Dr. Kazaz will agree that if you are pregnant, you definitely want to ask your doctor first if it is safe for you to exercise and ask for their opinions on what would be best for your body too.
This
Okay.
is a great question. Oh, so no, please go ahead.
Sorry. Sorry. No, I just wanted to add, for those that might take a group fitness class, and sometimes it can be intimidating in those classes.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like just as from an instructor standpoint, I try to show like the whole movement and then the modifications, for those that might have different restrictions. And I also look at my audience, right? See, and I also ask that in class as well. Do we have any restrictions, stuff like that? So definitely.
And don't be afraid to raise your hand and say, I don't know how to do this.
Right.
They didn't give a modification. Is there something else I can do?
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
just one more thing with that is to talk to the instructor
Yeah.
right before class starts. Go to a class early and then
Mhm.
talk to the instructor before, let them know what your restrictions are. And that way they can keep an eye on you during class. And if there
Right.
is a move where they know they need to give you one, maybe they just go over to you, pull down the mic and say, hey, this would be a great option for you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And then I just want to add, because Christine, you talked about being pregnant. I actually worked out with all three of my pregnancies, but definitely had to make the modifications as my belly grew. So definitely, like I said, listen to your body. As long as the doctor is giving you the okay to, work out during pregnancy, definitely keep that going.
Okay, we do have another question from Amy. She asks, how long do you recommend staying on weight loss meds?
So that's a great question. I'm asked that every day. For the longest time, we treated weight as an option. And we just told patients to eat better and exercise more. And it didn't work for most people. And it was a yo-yo for weight gain, weight loss. These medications are actually transforming the way we address weight. We're treating it as a chronic condition, the way we treat diabetes, the way we treat hypertension. We need to take the shame out of using these medications. That is very important because you're treating a chronic condition, not just because we want to lose 5 pounds and fit in the dress for the wedding or whatever the reason is. We're treating a chronic condition. These medications are actually a glucagon-like peptide, which is a natural hormone that is actually secreted in our intestine. So I want people to think of them as something natural because we all like to hear that it's not a chemical drug. It literally something we believe maybe that's why some people have easier time staying thinner, genetically, maybe because they have naturally more of that hormone. So we're now treating it as just the way we treat diabetes because they don't have enough insulin. We're giving them insulin. So think about it this way. It will remove that idea of when can I get off of it? These medications are expected to be used lifelong, just the way you treat your diabetes, your hypertension, all of these chronic conditions. So a lot of people feel bad when we tell them that, and they don't want to commit to that. So when I ask people how long they struggle with their weight, most of my patients say since I was in high school, men and women, right? They say, I haven't been this size since high school. So some of my patients were talking about 50, 60 years since they've been that weight. So if you have been struggling with this 50 to 60 years, unfortunately, we don't have 50 to 60 years more to struggle with it. So lifelong is not as long as we love it to be. So there's nothing wrong with being on these medications for 40 or 50 years to come if it's going to make me a healthier, better version of myself. And we're all worth, our hearts and our stories worth protecting and for as long as possible. The Obviously, people worry about side effects. I want to make sure that these medications have been around for 2 decades. They just became popular now. We've been using them for 2 decades for treating diabetes. So we have a lot of information about them. They're not for everyone. Some people don't tolerate them, just like any other medications. And for the first time in my career, and I graduated medical school 30 years ago, so it's been long. We have medicine that is not only safe for the heart, that help you lose weight. It's actually cardiovascular protective. It reducing your risk of dying from heart disease. It reducing your risk of having a heart attack or a stroke. It's reducing vascular dementia, which is the most common cause of dementia. So there's a lot of benefits, and think about those rather than how long do I need to be on medicine? Because unfortunately, chronic diseases, just the way they sound, they need to be a lifelong struggle and a lifelong treatment.
Mhm. That is a great explanation, Dr. Kazaz. Thank you so much for that. I'd love to give Christine and Terlicia an opportunity just to say some closing thoughts.
Sure, I can start. So, closing in my whole experience is just, like I said earlier, being aware of the signs and symptoms of not just a stroke, but also heart attack and anything that can happen to us as women or men who are on the call as well. Being very aware that it can happen to you too, no matter what your physical restrictions are, where you are in your life, how healthy or not healthy you are. Being aware of your own body is going to be number one for me as a takeaway today. And just to take care of yourself, because we only get one body, right? And so making sure that we make the best out of our decisions, like Dr. Kazaz said, and just like Terlicia said as well.
Hi. I would say, um, overall, like Christine said and Dr. Kazaz said, taking care of your body through physical activity and healthy eating. And if, you want to start an exercise routine, start small. Make those goals small, and take it one day at a time. And try to find what movements you like and just continue to build on that.
Awesome. Thank you so much to all of our panelists today. I just wrote down some of the overlapping thoughts that all of you mentioned, which were starting small, celebrating those small wins. A big one for Christine is knowing the signs of, whether it's stroke or heart attack, but most importantly, knowing what those signs would mean for you and your body. And lastly, find fun in the movement that you choose to do and to, live a healthier lifestyle. So I appreciate all of you for spending your lunchtime with us. And thank you so much for making the Check It Challenge possible. And most of all, thank you everyone on this call for taking the time to join us today. Registration from this event will give you access to previously recorded sessions and future webinars in the series. The next Check It community conversation, Mental Health and Wellbeing, will be on Wednesday, May 21st. That's at noon. And we hope to see you there. Make sure you also keep checking your blood pressure and show us how you moved more this month by tagging the American Heart Association at AHA New York on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And also be sure to use the hashtag #CheckIt. Enjoy the rest of your day and thanks for being with us.
Thank you.